Good evening, friends. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. Tonight we're talking about your mission. We're talking about your mission tonight. And I want to set a little back story or context for you just with my own story. So this is a very common experience where people get into business for themselves so that they can have freedom. Now, for me, it started off as a desire to have financial freedom. I didn't know at the age of 24 what I wanted to do when I grow up, quote unquote, right? I had just quit a master's program where the program was for an endorsement in education, right, with a middle school endorsement. I quit that master's program, and I just didn't know where I fit. And then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that got my mind thinking about investing, but it also got my mind thinking about business. I quickly read through Kiyosaki's second book, Cash Flow Quadrant, his third book, Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. Like, I went through a lot of these Rich Dad books and started to see that business was maybe something I could do to provide financial freedom. So for me, I got into business with the idea of financial freedom. I didn't know what my mission was. I didn't know how I was going to make a difference for others. It was all about me. I'm clear that when I got into business, it was entirely self-centered and about me. I wanted financial freedom. Then, when the financial part of the freedom took forever, it felt like, to kick in, right? I'm like, whoa, this is not what I thought about when I thought of financial freedom. Because being in business was hard. Then it just became about freedom. I was like, well, I'm not making a ton of money, but I don't want to go work for somebody else. I really like my freedom. I want to be free to do the things I want to do when I want to do them. And so I clung very tightly to the freedom that I had. Again, being in business was then about me. It was about me having my freedom. And listen, I just did that for so long. And you can, the energy in business when it's about you is just not very inspiring. Right? Like, the idea of financial freedom or freedom can inspire you for a moment, but it doesn't last. You won't sustain it because it's not big enough for you. It's like a dead end. And so you go down the dead end and you're like, is this all there is down here? This doesn't inspire me. And this is why having a mission that is bigger than you is so important to your work, because it actually pulls you forward. When your business is just about you, it's about your financial freedom, about your retirement plan, about your security. It's about what you get and like all that. It's not inspiring enough for you to continue. By the way, it's not inspiring enough for others to take notice. Nobody cares about you and what your goals are. People care about them and what their goals are. So let's carry this further into marketing. When your primary drivers in business are about you, and then you try to create marketing for your business and services, all the while the background of this whole thing is that you're out trying to accomplish your goals, that translates into your marketing as boring and irrelevant. I don't care about your marketing when you're just trying to provide food for your family. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is my family and my goals. So you can see that without mission, not only is it not fulfilling for you, but you have a really hard time engaging others in why they should care about you and your business. Who cares? So let's flip the script there for a minute. When you have mission, when there is something bigger than you, a contribution you're making in the world that is bigger than you, what happens is people start to be curious about that. They want to know more about how they fit in your mission. How do I fit inside your story, the story you're telling? You can tell a story about like how what you're doing is making this change in the world, and now I can see myself in it or not. But all of a sudden it becomes interesting and relevant, not only for them, but also for you, right? Because now there's this bigger thing happening. And if you don't get up today and go to work, if you don't post a video today, if you don't do the work today, whatever the work is, right? If you don't do your important work in the world, then it affects someone else. And that is great motivation. right? When I know that not showing up today affects someone else, that is great motivation. I don't know what it is. We have such an easy time giving up on ourselves. But when somebody else is in the picture, we show up better, more, bigger. I think it's just how we're wired. It's part of the human condition, but it is what it is. This is the power of mission. So as you're thinking about your goals for this year, as you think about how you currently do marketing, what I want to know is, what's the driver of all of that? What is the mission behind it? And the place that, like, here's how I describe it as I teach people through my programs in marketing is, I say it this way: what is the conversation you're leading in the world? Like, life has taught you something. Life has taught you beautiful truths and wisdom in order to pass it on to others. And so that is the conversation you get to lead in the world. Now, I don't care if you're a real estate agent or you're a life coach or a nutritionist or a personal trainer. I don't care what it is that you sell, like what's the career. What you have to find is what is the mission, the aspirational mission in the work, right? People don't care if you just listed a house. They don't care if you just sold a house. They want to know how you make communities better, or how you advocate for families, or whatever it is that matters to you. Right? Like, why are you doing this? What is your important work in the world? That's another way to access the mission, is to ask yourself, what is my important work in the world? It's not selling a house. It's not the coaching call that you're doing. There is a bigger impact or groundswell that happens from the work that you do, and that is the important work of it. So what change does your mission make in the world? What impact beyond you and even beyond your clients? Beyond your clients, what happens when your work gets to beyond your clients? You have to be able to sort of get a picture of that, because that becomes the aspirational mountain we're all climbing with you. That's the mission. What I saw for me as I was going down this road of business was, I love teaching. I always came back to wanting to help others who felt out of place in business. It's just how I was always drawn to that. I think I was drawn to, well, even since college, I was drawn to understanding and hearing about people's passion. In college, I would ask people at lunch, like, what are you passionate about? That was one of my favorite questions. Like, what are you passionate about? I've always asked that question. So when I got into real estate, which was my first career, and I saw people struggling, I would ask the same question, like, what are you passionate about? And you know what? Almost nobody ever said in real estate they were passionate about real estate. They might have said they loved homes, or they might have said they loved helping people, but it was almost never about the transaction. Nobody loved the transaction, right? So people tell you beautiful things when you ask them, what are you passionate about? There's all sorts of great things that people will say. But then that thing that you're passionate about often doesn't translate to the business you're in, or at least the mission of your business. Why? Why not? So I would find myself teaching agents how to look in their life for the things that turn them on, and then use that to build relationships and connections and bridges to those that they could serve. Even when the topic they were passionate about wasn't connected to real estate, right? So fast forward now, like years and years and years later, what I help people do in my programs is begin to look at, what do you care about? What matters to you? And what that gives us clues to an insight for the conversation you're leading in the world. Now, the conversation you're leading in the world becomes the very platform for your marketing. That becomes the place in which you speak from in your marketing. And that's how you create connection. Now, once you have connection, you can begin to invite people into this work that you're up to. And one of the ways you might support them in the mission is through the service you provide, right? So for me, when I look at my groundswell in the world, my important work in the world, I think that every business person has something they're passionate about, a difference they want to make in the world. And the problem with them, the problem is that they're not making that difference because they're too focused on themselves and they're too distracted by not having enough money. That's a real problem for people in business. They don't have enough money. And so they run around worried most of the time about money, unable to actually ever access their message and their important work in the world. And when I saw that, and I thought, I need to help these people with that, that's where the service came in. But the mission isn't about marketing. This show is about helping you think differently about marketing, but the mission isn't marketing. The mission is you finding the conversation you want to lead in the world. Because when a human being is turned on by something and they lead that conversation in the world to a bunch of others, what happens is we all get turned on for our own thing, like for our own important work in the world. Now, how do I help you do that? Well, that's where I started to figure out, like, if you could just start speaking. Most people can't speak about the things that matter to them for some reason. Sometimes it's an aesthetic thing. They're embarrassed by their hair day, or they think they sound stupid when they make a video, or like there's all the shame and stuff that lives in the background of their mind. And that's one reason why people don't market. There's another reason people don't market because they're unclear about, they have too many ideas. They've chased too many rabbits and they don't know which thing is really, they're confused. So sometimes that's the problem. But all of it is my programs. I realized I needed to create a program to help you find the message you're here to lead in the world, because that will unlock you. That unlocks you. Once you start to feel free to speak your truth to the world, you get out of your own way. And now you just get to start to grow and expand at faster levels than you've ever have before, because you're speaking your truth. So the mission is you having me supporting you to have your own groundswell in the world. How do we do that? The service is to help you into marketing, to help you start to speak your truth in marketing. But marketing is not the mission. The mission is you stepping into your genius, you stepping into the lessons life has taught you. That's the mission. And then what happens for everybody is when you start to support and help others at your highest capacity, that sets others free. And then that sets others free, right? Like that's the groundswell. So as you go about your business this week, this month, this year, my invitation is to continue to find and level up the conversation you're here to lead in the world. And as you do that, I think what you'll find is that you start showing up in bigger and better ways, because all of a sudden, how you're doing your business isn't just about you. It's now about something bigger than you. And that's the power of mission. So thanks for hanging out with me here tonight in this episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. If you'd like help finding that message, speaking that message into the world, turning that message into a podcast and a show that can live on in perpetuity so that you can make your difference and lead the conversation, I have a free course called Marketing for the Rest of Us, the course. It's 5 videos. And on the last page of those 5 videos is an application to my 6-week program. And my 6-week program is where we really go to work on you launching that podcast in the world, right? You getting your show out in the world. So if you're interested in the 6-week program with me, the place to start is with those free videos. Go to groundswellmethod.com. You can see the link in the text of this post, groundswellmethod.com. You'll see the free videos on the last page of the video. You'll not opt in, but you'll apply. If you're interested in the 6-week program, you'll apply for the program. Okay? Thanks for hanging out with me here tonight. Until tomorrow, when we see you again, here's to you bringing more mission to your important work.